Hi, all. Well, I found a new document to go over today. COVID-19, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and Thierry Maleret. This came out, it's dated June, but I believe it came out in July. It was published. Now, Klaus Schwab is the guy who founded the World Economic Forum. And we're going to go over this and some other things. Since its entry in the world stage, COVID-19 has dramatically torn up the existing script of how to govern countries, live with others, and take part in the global economy. Now, note script, okay? Because that's what they mean. I made a comment in another video about the Bible being a script. We're going to go over that in another. So here we go. In early 2020, we are at a crossroads, says the authors of COVID-19, The Great Reset argue. One path will take us to a better world, more inclusive, more equitable, and more respectful of Mother Nature. Okay, sure. The other will take us to a world that resembles the one we just left behind, but worse, and constantly dogged by nasty surprises. See, here's a threat right here. You don't do what we say, you're going to have a lot of nasty surprises. We must get it right. The looming challenges could be more consequential than we have until now chosen to imagine, but our capacity to reset could also be greater than we had previously dared to hope. Oh, I'm sure. Fucking vampires just sit around. Look at this creature. Ugh. Professor Klaus Schwab is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic. Look, where is this Broweridge? Is there even a Broweridge on this dude? Supposed dude. 1971, he published The Modern Enterprise Management and Mechanical Engineering, doctorate in economics. Remember the video I did about them planning everything? Yet there are no conspiracies, right? These guys can meet every year in Davos, Switzerland, put out copious amounts of documents about what they're going to do to us. And then it's still just a conspiracy. You have to excuse me. It's time for some wine tonight. Thierry Maleret, managing partner of the Monthly Barometer, went to Sorbonne, École des Hautes Études, St. Anthony's, Oxford. See, all these guys, all planned. Here's your table of contents with the macro reset: economic, societal, geopolitical, environmental, technological. The micro reset of industry and business, industry, individual reset, redefining our humanness, the better angels in our nature. I'm going to do a video about this. Angels, fallen ones. Mental health and well-being. Yeah, it's going so well. People killing themselves. Nice. Introduction. Worldwide crisis triggered by the coronavirus pandemic has no parallel in modern history. We cannot be accused of hyperbole when we say it is plunging our world in its entirety and each of us individually into the most challenging times we faced in generations. It's our defining moment. We'll be dealing with the fallout for years, and many things will change forever. Really. All over the common cold. This is bringing economic disruption of monumental proportions, creating a dangerous and volatile period on multiple fronts, politically, socially, geopolitically. No industry or business will be spared the impact of these changes, unless you're part of the tyranny, right? Then you might be allowed to keep your job. Millions of companies risk disappearing, and the industries face an uncertain futures. A few will thrive. Oh, so they're going to let a few of us live, right? A few of us that are essential. On an individual basis, for many, life as they've always known it is unraveling at an alarming speed. But deep existential crises also favor introspection and can harbor the potential for transformation. What is it that Rahm Emanuel said? Never let a good crisis go to waste. And then Take special notice of this word transformation. It's important. A new world will emerge. Yeah, a new world order. The contours of which are for us to imagine and to draw. At the time of writing in June 2020, the pandemic continues to worsen. No, it isn't. Globally. Many of us are pondering when things will return to normal. The short response is never. Nothing will ever return to the broken sense of normalcy that prevailed prior to the crisis, because the coronavirus pandemic marks a fundamental inflection point in our global trajectory. Global, right? These people have been planning where we're going for centuries. Some analysts call it a major bifurcation. Others refer to a deep crisis of biblical proportions. What did I say about the playbook, the script? But the essence remained the same. The world as we knew it in the early months of 2020 is no more. Oh, yeah, thanks to you, a-holes. Dissolved in the context of the pandemic. Radical changes of such consequence are coming that some pundits have referred to a before coronavirus, BC, and after coronavirus, AC era. Oh, isn't that sweet? So I wanted to show you guys something else. I wanted to show you Health Passport Ireland, if you haven't seen it. This is what's coming, right? And this stuff has been planned for a long time, because how long does it take to plan for this kind of stuff? Take a look.
Is created to protect our society and our economy. Built in Ireland by the RockU Group, the system uses the very best COVID-19 testing, combined with the latest mobile technologies. Health Passport Ireland is powered by proven and validated systems, allowing us all to take safer steps in our return to our normal way of life. Here's how it works. With Health Passport Ireland, everyone can now be tested for COVID-19 at any time, which helps to protect you, your family,
you still have to
our
wear a
jobs,
mask,
and our economy. Your COVID-19 test will be performed with highly accurate serological or swab tests.
So
your
accurate,
test is performed
80%.
by a medical professional.
False positive.
After your COVID-19 test, an authorized healthcare administrator creates your Health Passport Ireland account. Your login details will be emailed to you immediately with a link to download your Health Passport mobile app. The authorized healthcare administrator securely updates your COVID-19 test results in your Health Passport. Once activated, you can easily display your COVID-19 status on your mobile. Your Health Passport can be scanned if you wish, which helps protect those around us. Your COVID-19 status will efficiently display as green, amber, or red, dependent on your test results. This allows us to go about our daily activities in a safer way. We can all use health.
Yeah, if you're red, you can't do anything. Nice, right? You won't be able to go to work. You won't be able to get on a train. You won't be able to go to the movies. You won't be able to do anything. Oh, and you got to wear your mask too. Check it out.
Passport Ireland in many ways, such as travel, hospitality, education, healthcare, construction, offices, entertainment, visits, and much, much more.
Oh, they got it all.
Naturally, the validity of your COVID-19 test will expire over time.
Oh, of course.
So an automatic reminder will be sent when it's time to be tested again.
Oh,
your
that's
status will move
perfect.
to amber when your test period has expired. Health Passport Ireland does not use Bluetooth or track your location.
Right.
This preserves your privacy.
Oh, okay.
The systems can work in harmony with existing government contact tracing apps. When a vaccine becomes available, you're
Yeah, so much privacy. I got some a-hole in the government on my phone telling me if I can get on a train or get on a bus or whatever, telling me I can't buy groceries because my test is out of season or whatever. Okay. Yeah, so much fucking privacy. Okay, come on.
Official vaccination status can also be displayed within your Health Passport. You can even keep a diary of your international travel and events you have attended. Health Passport Ireland can be linked to existing.
No, they're going to keep a diary of where you went so they can shut anyone down and tell them all to stay at home so they lose their jobs if they want to. Like, if they really want to F with you, they can stop everyone in your family, all of your friends from working. That's what they're up to.
Secure medical systems if required. For example, at your GP or hospital. You can visit www.healthpassportireland.ie for more information. Health Passport Ireland, working together to protect our society and economy.
our society.
Health
They
Passport
mean,
Ireland is created.
sorry, y'all. They mean the elites. They're worried. I looked up Rock U Group, and they are they're going to launch this in America, Italy, African continent, and in other places. So have no fear, it's coming here. All right, back to the task at hand. COVID-19, the Great Reset. Great, kind of like the Great Depression. I was kind of wondering why they were saying, MAGA, make America great again. And I was always kind of wondering, I think they left off, make America great depression again. I think that's what they left off. Who calls something like depression great? Right? Shouldn't it be called like bad or awful? It's only great for the people in charge who got more money, took over more of the economy, right? They always tell you something. It's always the opposite. For instance, like the Patriot Act. It's actually against patriots, right? Think about it. Whenever they tell us something, Obamacare, it's for your health. No, it's so you don't have health. It's always the opposite. War on drugs. No, the war on drugs is actually the war on the people. The government runs the drugs, right? Same thing with the opioid crisis. That is the war on chronic pain patients. They're not stopping the junkies in the streets. How can the junkie in the street get fentanyl, but someone like me can't? Think about it, right? When you see that they've interrupted, a few hundred tons of fentanyl coming from China, you know that like this is on purpose. So anyways, let's go back to this. I don't want to get too off of a thing here. We will continue to be surprised by the rapidity and unexpected nature of these changes. As they conflate with each other, they will provoke second, third, fourth, and more order consequences, cascading effects and unforeseen outcomes. In doing so, they will shape a new normal radically different from the one we will be progressively leaving behind. Many of our beliefs and assumptions about what the world could or should look like will be shattered in the process. By itself, the pandemic may not completely transform, here we go again with that word, their favorite word, but it is likely to accelerate many of the changes that were already taking place before it erupted, which will in turn set in motion other changes. So here, as this gets more interesting, I've been looking through this before, so I kind of know. Let's begin by putting things in perspective. Human beings have been around for about 200,000 years, the oldest bacteria for billions of years, and viruses for at least 300 million years. So this is one of their favorite numbers, 2, 3. That's skull and bones. I don't know if you know about that. So like if you just look up they have all these, they're always like into math. See, 322. Did you see that? Oh, I'll show you. This is what I'm talking about. In the news, they like to say 32 or 22 or 23. They always show you something. All right, so here we go. This means that most likely pandemics have always existed and have been an integral part of human history since people started traveling around. Because of their inherently disruptive nature, epidemics throughout history have proven to be a force for lasting and often radical change. See, this is how they do it. So I have this little hypothesis going on that what they do is every 100 years or so, they have a pandemic, right? And what they do is they do economic terrorism, like they're doing now, shut everything down, blame it on a virus or whatever you want to call it. And because here's the deal, depending upon someone's bad immune system to kill them is not very what's the word? It's not gonna work. Okay, most people are not sick enough unless you're really, really old or really, really don't have enough nutrition, right? You're sick in the first place to be killed by a cold, right? So what they do is it takes about 30 days to starve to death a person who's like of average form and, isn't fat. Because like when I fast, I lose about 2 pounds a day. Sometimes if I don't drink water, I lose 4. So if you're 30 pounds overweight, you got 15 days to live, right? So that's how they're killing people, in my opinion. It could be wrong, but that's how I see it. Outbreaks forced empires to change, like the Byzantine Empire when struck by the plague of Justinian from 541 to 542, and some to even disappear altogether when the Aztec and Inca emperors died with most of their subjects from European germs. Okay. Also, authoritative measures to attempt to contain them have always been part of the policy arsenal attack, right? Thus, there is nothing new about the confinement and lockdowns imposed upon much of the world to manage COVID-19. They have been a common practice for centuries. Oh, really? How come my grandparents never talked about the Spanish flu? Right? They talked about the Depression, but they lived through all of it. How come they never talked about it? The earliest forms of confinement came with the quarantines instituted in an effort to contain the Black Plague that between 1347 and 1351 killed about a third of all Europeans. Coming from the word quaranta, which means 40 in Italian, the idea of confining people for 40 days originated without the authorities really understanding what they wanted to contain. The period of 40 days has no medical foundation. It was chosen for symbolic and religious reasons, both the Old and New Testaments. If you look into it, 4 is the number of destruction. I think it's Shi in Chinese. I could be wrong, but I know if you look up 4 means destruction. 44 is like double destruction. You'll see this number a lot. Okay. The spread of infectious diseases has a unique ability to fuel fear, anxiety, and mass hysteria. Epidemics are by nature divisive and traumatizing. What we are fighting against is invisible. Yeah, it's the government. The government is the virus. Our family, friends, and neighbors, they all become a source of infection. Those everyday rituals that we cherish, like meeting a friend in public place, may be a vehicle for transmission, and the authorities that try to keep us safe by enforcing confinement measures are often perceived as agents of oppression because you are. Now here we go, talking about the Jews. There's a lot of people who think that the Jews themselves are in charge of all of this. How many times have you seen a Rothschild at the synagogue? That's all I want to say. I have friends that are Jewish, and they're suffering just like us. What happens with those who control the world is when they go to another country, they pretend to be whatever religion it is that they need to be. Buddhist, Jewish, Muslim. Right? Do you think that the Saudis, you think the Saudi royal family is really Muslim? And actually in the Bible, it tells you who they are. The synagogue of Satan. Claim to be Jews, but the synagogue of Satan. So I just want you guys to know, to be smart enough to discern the difference between like your regular Jewish friend down the street and these international scumbags who call themselves Jewish, call themselves Christian. I mean, Hillary Clinton is on tape saying the Bible, that she follows the Bible, right? Well, she does because it's a playbook for them. But we all want to kind of feel like we belong with these people, right? We have this like psychosis that some person in a mansion or a castle loves us and cares about cares about our health. It's mind-boggling. Anyways, I have talked too much, but let's talk about this. In medieval Europe, the Jews were always amongst the victims of the most notorious pogroms provoked by the plague. One tragic example illustrates this point. In 1349, 2 years after the Black Death had started to rove across the country, in Strasbourg on Valentine's Day, Jews who'd been accused of spreading the plague by polluting the wells of the city were asked to convert. About 1,000 refused and were burned alive. Now, this is another thing about my point when I said that they engage in economic terrorism. In 1349, nobody would know, right, what spread things, right? How would you kill a town's worth of people? You poison the well, right? That's not the plague. Think about it. How do you poison a well? Well, you could put chemicals in there, right? Or you could throw a dead body in there. And the body doesn't even have to be, it doesn't even have to be a plague body. If you throw a body in the well, you're going to make a lot of people sick, especially people who, didn't have good nutrition, things like that. During that same year, Jewish communities in other European cities were wiped out, forcing them to massively migrate to the eastern part of Europe, Poland and Russia, permanently altering the demography of the continent in the process. So here we go. We have regular old Jews being blamed for stuff that was going on. Think about it. Do you really think like your Jewish neighbor would be the guy out polluting the well? No. Think about it. You've got these people that rule us are a separate sort of entity. I'm going to go into this in another video. It's interesting that they have to match, they have to put this in everything they do, though. The changes were so diverse and widespread that it led to an end of an age of submission, bringing feudalism and serfdom to an end and ushering in the era of enlightenment. When has feudalism or serfdom ever ended? That's what communism is, right? Every government that has ever lived, no matter what it started out as, devolved into feudal serfdom. I mean, that's what they're up to with this whole Passport Ireland crap, right? You're going to have a few at the top who own everything and a bunch of serfs. This is going to be, global, pseudoscientific, electronic serfdom. The Black Death may have been the unrecognized beginning of modern man. Okay. Now, this here that we have, COVID, is going to be a change to all of our DNA. I don't know if you have been looking up what they're up to, this modern man thing. Well, they're about to change us. They're trying to change our DNA. The vaccines are mRNA vaccines. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. I guess we'll just go off on a tangent. How's that sound? mRNA. So what they're going to do is they're going to inject you with this mRNA vaccine. And they're going to keep testing you over and over again to see if it's actually modifying your DNA and seeing if it's changing. Right? That's why they have to test you. Like, when in history have they had to test you over and over and over again for a vaccine, right? To see if it worked. They're doing a genetic experiment on us. Okay. This isn't the one I wanted. Let's see. Where's this article? This other article from the Journal of JAMA. Let's see. There it is. So if you don't believe what I'm saying, obviously don't believe what I'm saying. Go look up everything, make up your own mind. That's how we got in this problem, was like believing people all the time. Go do your research. I find it interesting that they call it novel all the time, right? What does novel mean? Fiction. Look it up. Current antiviral vaccine designs can be described as falling into two camps: protein-based or gene-based. So in the protein-based ones, they give you a killed virus and they hope the body reacts against it. Gene-based are different. They carry the genetic instructions to the host cells to make the antigen, which more closely mimics a natural infection. In the case of coronaviruses, the antigen of interest is the surface spike protein that virus uses to bind and fuse with human cells. You're not giving them the protein, you're giving them the genetic material that then instructs them how to make that spike protein, to which they make an antibody response that is hopefully protected. Hope. Yeah, we're all shutting the freaking world down for hope. Hope and change, right? Isn't that what Obama was saying? All right, so enough of that. So that's what's coming. That's why they have to test you over and over and over again. They're keeping track of their experiment, all right? And my little hypothesis is that it's going to be just like with Monsanto when they had those seeds and they genetically modified them, and then if they spread to the neighbor's field or something, like you got fined for that because those seeds now belong to Monsanto. So don't you belong to Moderna, Merck, whoever, once they've changed your DNA? Once they can prove that your DNA is altered to be theirs, they own it. Right? All right. God, we're only on page 15. Sorry, guys. If such profound social and political economic changes could be provoked by the plague in the medieval world, could the COVID-19 pandemic mark the onset of a similar turning point with long-lasting and dramatic consequences for our world today? Oh, well, don't they hope so? So here they go. They admit that this isn't as bad as they say it is, right? Unlike certain past epidemics, COVID-19 doesn't pose a new existential threat. It will not result in unforeseen mass famines or major military defeats or regime changes. Whole populations will neither be exterminated nor displaced as a result of the pandemic. However, this does not equate to a reassuring analysis. Why not? Right? Like, if nobody's dying, why are we locked down? In reality, the pandemic is dramatically exacerbating pre-existing dangers that we failed to confront adequately for too long. What is that? The freedom of human beings to do what they want to do? It will also accelerate disturbing trends that have been building up for a prolonged period of time. So here they go into talking about, is this like any of these other pandemics? Is the pandemic like the Spanish flu of 1918 that estimated to have killed more than 50 million people worldwide in 3 successive waves? Or could it look like the Great Depression that started in 1929? Is there any resemblance with the psychological shock inflicted by 9/11? Are there similarities with what happened with SARS and H1N1? And see how they're just admitting to all of the things, right? Like, why would you lump all this together? I wouldn't, right? Like, I have a degree in chemistry. I would not link 9/11 with some viruses. Like I said, the government is the virus. Could it be like the great financial crisis of 2008, but bigger? The correct, albeit unwelcome, answer to all of these is no. None fits the reach and pattern of human suffering and economic destruction caused by the current epidemic. Why? The economic fallout in particular bears no resemblance to any crisis in modern history. As pointed out by many heads of state and government in the midst of the pandemic, because they're all given the same script. We're at war, but with an enemy that is invisible. Didn't Trump say that? And of course, metaphorically, if what we are going through can indeed be called a war, it is certainly not a typical one. After all, today's enemy is shared by all of mankind. Yeah, we have an enemy on this earth. Those of us who are like regular old normal humans that just want to like pretty much live our lives. There's something wicked that controls this world, and I gotta do a video on that. That said, World War II could even so be one of the most relevant mental anchors in the effort to assess what's coming next. What? Transformational war? Changes to the global order. Global. See? Global. There are no conspiracies, though. They haven't been doing this for hundreds of years. There's no conspiracy. Radical shifts in social attitudes and belief that pave the way for radically new policies and social contract provisions. Contract, that's another thing you guys got to look up, right? Your straw man, there's a contract. Women joining the workforce and putting their children with the government to make them into good little obedient little automatons. Even in the worst case, horrendous scenario, COVID-19 will kill far fewer people than the Great Plagues, including the Black Death or World War II did. Because the point of this is to lock everybody down forever. However, the impact of the pandemic will go well beyond the already staggering statistics relating simply to death, unemployment, and bankruptcies. So they're talking about how people feel when extreme bewilderment, when extreme shock strikes. And of course, they always tell us what they're up to. This strangeness is well captured by Albert Camus in his 1947 novel, The Plague. Yet all these changes were, in one sense, so fantastic and had been made so precipitately that it was easy to regard them as likely to have any permanence. Right? Like, I've been wishing this would just all go away. Now that the unthinkable is upon us, what will happen next in the immediate aftermath of the pandemic and then in the foreseeable future? Our aim is to see, they say that they don't know what's going to happen with the change, but then their aim is to help the readers grasp the multifaceted dimension of the changes that are coming. At the very least, we will argue the pandemic will accelerate systemic changes that were already apparent prior to the crisis. Partial retreat from globalization, the growing decoupling between the US and China, the acceleration of automation, concerns about heightened surveillance, the growing appeal of well-being policies, yeah, they care so much, rising nationalism and subsequent fear of immigration, the power of tech, the necessity of firms to have an even stronger online presence, and among many others. You know, this thing here that they got going on between the US and China, you know what it reminds me of? You know that movie or the book 1984 where they're always broadcasting online about the war against Asia? That's what it reminds me of. Could be wrong, though. The broader point is this: the possibilities for change in the resulting new order are now unlimited and only bound by our imagination, for better or worse. Get the point? We could take advantage of this unprecedented opportunity to reimagine our world in a bid to make it better and more resilient as one emerges on the other side of this crisis. They got balls, though. They got balls to freaking to like publish this, don't you think? Interdependence, velocity, and complexity. Yeah, they want to make sure that you're dependent on someone over in some other country for your food. That's how they're up to. Interdependence, a byproduct of globalization and technological process. Reciprocal dependence among the elements that compose a system. Simply that the world is concatenated, linked together. This is a diplomat from Singapore's quote, "The 7 billion people who inhabit the earth no longer live in more than 100 separate boats, i.e. countries. Instead, they all live in 193 separate cabins on the same boat." Noah's Ark. Greatest transformations ever. All right, you guys want to know why I keep saying transformation? Where did I put these pictures here? All right, here is Klaus and Hilda, his wife, on their wedding day. Look at this creature with the Habsburg jaw. And when you look, see this person is in the foreground, right? So they're going to appear larger. So this man, his skull is about the same size as this woman's skull. That doesn't happen in real life. And I'll tell you why. My ex-husband is 3 inches shorter than me. His skull was just as big as mine, if not bigger. His feet were only a half a size smaller. So this doesn't happen in real life, where you have this woman with the big old jaw and the big old shoulders, and then the man having a small skull that's a lot taller than her. That does not happen, and that's because of skeletal ratios. I've got to do a video on that too. Now, when they're old, it's way, way, way more obvious. Is this a woman? Is this a woman? Imagine, like I always imagine that the hair is gone. I actually put my hands over the hair. Which one is the man? Look at this skull. Look at this jaw. See how square it is? Square. Square. This is not square, right? It's like my face, like a heart, right? Square. So these things that rule over us, the sweet skeletons, something's up. But I'm going to do a video about that too. Back to the topic. If we, 7.5 billion people, are now stuck together on a virus-infected cruise ship, does it make sense to clean and scrub only our personal cabins while ignoring the corridors and airwells outside through which the virus travels? The answer is clearly no. Yet this is what we've been doing since we are now in the same boat. Humanity has to take care of the global boat as a whole. Isolation or containment cannot rhyme with interdependence or interconnectedness. So they don't want you to be able to isolate. Like if you're a country who hasn't been affected by this, they don't want you to be able to isolate. No, of course not. No, no, no. Everyone, we're all in this together. Isn't that their nonsense bullshit campaign? We're all in this together. Right. The phenomenon of contagion by systemic connectivity. So this is what I was saying before, remember? Now, I haven't read this part of this thing yet. So they're talking about unemployment, social instability, fiscal crisis, right? All of this comes there the infectious disease, quote unquote, is bound to have a direct effect on global governance failure. All of these things. Contagious by systemic connectivity, right? This is economic terrorism. That is what they do. This is not real. Like, there is no woo-woo virus flying around in the air. They may inject you with a virus, hoping to kill you. I'd imagine there's going to be like several separate vaccines, right? There'll be the people who are fertile that they want to like mess with their DNA so they can create whatever baby they want them to create. There'll be the old folks who get the kill vaccine, and the young folks, right? The really young ones. Maybe they don't want them to live, or they want them to be autistic or something like that. They already know how to do that, right? Put enough mercury and aluminum, you really screw the kids up, don't you? Look at all of this climate action failure. Interdependence has an important conceptual effect and invalidates silo thinking. People who saw these things, like the credit crisis, like me, or the Arab Spring, nobody listened to them. Okay? Because we weren't allowed onto TV. No dissenting opinions are ever allowed in the media. In fact, they'll probably take this video down. Velocity. %52% of the world's population is online compared to 18% or 8% 20 years ago. Smartphones, a symbol and vector of velocity that allows us to be reached anywhere and anytime and spied upon. 22 billion devices. So this is funny, ranging from cars to hospital beds, electrical grids, water station pumps to kitchen ovens. There was a video done by General Petraeus a while ago, right? I don't know if you guys saw it, but General Petraeus admitted that like your toaster's going to be spying on you. Who knows? Maybe they removed it by now. Let's see if I can find it.
On that, we sat down and decided that the political line of operation was actually the main effort. In other words, that could trump security line of operation. Now, don't get me wrong; you've got to have funnels. But I would go in and I'd say, "Hey, Ryan, we're looking at an operation, say in Sutter City tonight. What's your take? What will the traffic bear tonight? We know it's going to be sensitive. We know there's pitfalls out there potentially." Did something that he advised against doing. And there was deference in both directions.
I don't know if that's the right one.
We got to get back on
Sorry,
schedule.
guys.
We got to kick things into gear.
We gotta listen to
give
some nonsense
ourselves-
BS commercials.
Did you know that the CIA apparently has a venture capital firm? Okay, what's that? I mean, this is the state. Yeah, so I love this because they freely admit they call it a treasure trove of data if you're a person of interest to the spy community. Now,
You know who's a person of interest? Muslims in New York.
Yeah.
Like Muslim students who go on rafting trips. Those
Now-
are the people who will have these chips in their microwaves.
Now, understand what Anna's saying because it's so important. Because NYPD and the
Everyone
CIA
will
work
have the
together
chip
to
in
track
their
Muslims.
microwave. That's
Innocent
the point.
Muslim Americans, American citizens. Now, the CIA isn't supposed to work inside the United States. Oh, that's long gone. They claim because of an interpretation of a 2008 law that was passed, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. They say no, because of the way that it got amended in 2008. It's okay. The CIA can go nuts inside the country.
Yep. Anyways, I don't want to further waste your
To
time,
go by a
but there's
refrigerator or a
literally an
microwave,
interview.
right? So they're going to put these chips in